Hello and welcome back to my channel. Today is something a little different. So we're celebrating my grandfather's 85th birthday this weekend and I was tasked with the job of making dessert. Now normally that'd be definitely something I'm interested in doing, but my family has some more complicated dietary restrictions that is definitely going to play into what I can make. My mom asked me to make cupcakes, so that's something I usually love to do, but these cupcakes have to be gluten-free, we have celiacs in the family, dairy-free, we have a dairy allergy, not like lactose intolerant, like a full anaphylactic allergy, and vegan as well, because we have some vegans in the family. So gluten-free, dairy-free, vegan. So I went to the grocery store, I spent a significant amount of money, I wish I didn't have to, on very expensive ingredients like ridiculous gluten-free flours and things, but I think we have everything we need to make chocolate, gluten-free, dairy-free, vegan cupcakes with icing as well. So we're gonna give it a try. I am using a recipe today from Gluten Free Palate. It seemed nice. Her name is Crystal. The pictures looked like they were good and it seemed like an interesting recipe. So that's what we're going to do. So I preheated an oven back there, that's where my oven is, at 350 degrees Fahrenheit. I lined some cupcake liners. This recipe makes 12, so I'm gonna make it once, see if it turns out, and then if it does, I'm gonna make it a second time because I need more than 12 cupcakes. I'm not gonna double it. Anytime any of these recipes are so specific with gluten-free, vegan stuff, things get wonky when you double it, so I'm not doing that. I also have my fancy liners. Ooh, she fancy. So let's begin. In a large bowl, vigorously whisk together flour, cocoa, sugar, baking soda, and salt. Okay, so the flour that the recipe calls for is Bob's Red Mill, which is a brand that makes a lot of gluten-free flour alternatives. I couldn't find it. I went to my local grocery store. I also went to my local community Whole Foods, like a health food store. Couldn't find it there. So I found Namaste, food for everyone. So the point of the Bob's 1-to-1 gluten-free flour is that it's a mix of different types of gluten-free flour. So it's not just arrowroot, it's not just tapioca, blah, blah, blah. It's a bunch of different mixed together. This is the same concept. I read through the ingredients and it seems like it's similar in proportion and similar in content of types of flour. The recipe says, beware of doing any substitutes, do at your own risk. So gotta hope it'll work out. I think it'll be okay, but I honestly had no other choice. There was no specific type of flour for this. So 1.5 cups of flour. Let's do it. The recipe says to spoon the amount and level it with a, like, don't dunk your whole measuring cup in, just spoon and level. So that's what I'm gonna do. This flour looks very chalky. It has a little bit of xanthan gum in it. I don't know if you've heard of that before. It's kind of like a binding agent, I think. I'm not sure. Please correct me if I'm wrong. But that's gonna be kind of like, because gluten-free flours tend to be quite dry. So you need something to kind of hold everything together. And that's what the xanthan gum does, I'm pretty sure. You need to be more precise with this type of baking. I normally am a lot more casual with my measurements. You can't do that with this mustard chicken. So that looks like a pretty leveled off 1 cup. So there it goes. And here's my 1.5 cups. Can't spill this. This flour was like $100. It wasn't, but I mean, it was close. Feels like it. That's the thing with so many of these like gluten-free vegan options for desserts and things. They come out to be so expensive by the time you have the ingredients. Half. That is all of the flour I will be needing for now. To this, we're gonna add 1/4 cup of unsweetened cocoa powder. Be nice and chocolatey. I'm gonna spoon it in the same way I did the other one. In here. Wonderful. Cocoa. 1 cup of granulated sugar. I can do that. Oh, it's heavy. I'm just gonna scoop this one because it's sugar. It's easy to level off sugar. There's 1 cup of granulated sugar. Let's confirm that that's correct before I ruin everything. It is. 1 cup of granulated sugar. So 1 teaspoon of baking soda, leveled off here. Oop, great. And a 1/2 teaspoon of salt. I'm not gonna measure this. Hopefully that doesn't mess up everything. Just a little bit. Perfect. So it says whisk all of those ingredients together until they are soft and there's no lumps. Whisk. Yeah, that looks pretty good. So far it looks like that, just kind of lightly chocolate colored powder. Tried to get rid of all the lumps. They're just kind of like little tiny lumps. There's no big obvious lumps of certain things, I don't think. Down to the bottom, mix it all around. Perfect. In a separate medium bowl, we're gonna do our wet ingredients. So our wet ingredients, I'm gonna do the coffee last because that's the whole adventure. I need 1 tablespoon of white vinegar, 2 teaspoons of vanilla, and 6 tablespoons of olive oil. 6 tablespoons of olive oil or vegetable oil. I only have olive oil, so we're gonna be using that. So 1, 2, 6. 1 tablespoon of white vinegar. So that's interesting. 1 tablespoon of vinegar. 2 teaspoons of gluten-free vanilla. This is gluten-free. I just looked at it. 2. This looks bad. The last thing is 1 cup of brewed coffee. So here's the thing. I don't drink coffee. I don't make coffee. I don't drink anything with caffeine in it. It makes me sweat like crazy. We have to figure out how to make coffee. So my boyfriend uses an AeroPress to make coffee. So that's what we're gonna do. All right, so after me looking at the AeroPress for like 5 seconds, I realized I have no idea how it works at all. So Cody's off camera. He's gonna walk me through it. All right, so this is soaking. I have the filters. What do I do?
You put a filter into that thing.
So here's a filter into here. With this side?
Yep.
Do I wet it?
Yeah, just run some water through it just so it sticks down to it.
Running water through it.
And you're gonna set it upside down like that.
Okay.
And then you're gonna put the other piece over top. Just, yeah, like that. And then
so much work.
you're gonna put the coffee into the thing.
All right, okay, so I measured out some basic plain coffee right on the plunger thing?
Yeah, right in there. Just be careful putting it in to try not to get coffee grounds on the outside because then it has trouble closing.
You do this every day?
Yeah.
This is so precarious. That looks really good. Okay.
Now you're gonna put water, boiling water in there. And I just put in a little bit of water just to like submerge everything.
Okay.
And stir it around.
I hate the smell of coffee. Okay.
And then, yeah, wait a minute.
A minute? It's gonna leak water everywhere.
Okay.
I'm losing my coffee. I need a cup of coffee. This is so fun. Oh God.
Just wait.
Coffee is not worth it. This is so much work. All right, so we're still losing coffee, which is sad, but...
Okay, well, it's probably good enough.
Okay, it's brewed enough for me.
So then just put the cap on.
Filter. Oh, that's soaking wet. Okay.
And then, just make sure it's twisted on.
I think so.
And then now the only tricky part.
Oh, it's hot. Ouch.
Yeah, you gotta flip it over. Ooh, now it's leaking.
Ah!
You want me to flip it real
Yeah,
fast?
flip it. It's so bad. Okay, so that was fun.
Push down slowly. It doesn't have to be crazy slow, just don't like slam her down.
We're going slow. This has been such a nightmare and proves to me more that I don't need to drink coffee. After a lot of effort, we now have probably less than a cup of coffee. Let's get that in there. Oh my God. It's pretty close to a cup. 1 cup hot brewed coffee, fresh from the AeroPress. I'm going to pour that into my wet ingredients now and stir that around. Excellent. I mean, all these things are not going to mix well, so it doesn't really matter. It says to pour the wet ingredients into the dry ingredients and mix just until combined. It should still be a little lumpy. I think it's super important not to over mix these type of baking adventures because they can get kind of tough. And then spoon into cupcake pan. So really we're like done once we get this all together. So I'm going to pour this in here. That looks gross. So I'm going to mix this together now. I'm trying not to over mix, but there's spots in this bowl that kind of get stuck. So I'm trying to check the bottom. Yeah. Get around the bottom, just make sure. Yeah, I'd say that looks pretty good. It looks like regular cake batter to me. I think that meets the criteria. It still looks lumpy to me, but it's definitely pretty thin cake batter. So now we're good to divide it into the cupcake tins. Fill the cupcake liners about 2/3 full, so just like a regular cupcake. Bake for 18 to 20 minutes until a toothpick comes out clean. I have my 12 liners here, so I'm gonna spoon this until it's about 2/3 of the way up each liner. It's pretty easy to divide. It honestly has a consistency very similar to regular cake batter, so that's quite nice. I was worried it'd be a bit different. My only concern is that the flour I used for this one, because it's the only one I could find, has arrowroot powder in it, whereas the one it's supposed to does not. And I don't know if that's going to be a make or break thing for the consistency of these, if that's going to prevent them from baking properly. I have no idea. I really hope not, but then again, you need to be pretty precise about this type of baking. So I filled all of them. I have a little bit of batter left. I'm just gonna divide it between the ones that look a little more shallow. Batter definitely has like a little bit of a gelatinous feel to it. That might be the xanthan gum or the arrowroot powder, I'm not sure. I think those are full. I'm gonna try it. I haven't eaten any of it yet because I didn't really want to contaminate anything, but I'll try it now. It definitely has a bit of a coffee taste to it, but not in a bad way. It kind of rounds out the flavor, to be honest. I'm not mad at it. All right, so I'm gonna shake these to level them. All right, so here are my cupcakes, 12, and all of my batter is gone, so it was right about the measurement. I say these are about 2/3 of the way full. I'm now gonna put them in the oven at 350 for 18 to 20 minutes. I'll keep an eye on them and see how they turn out. Hopefully they turn out well, because I'm gonna try to make another version of this recipe. I won't start doing that though until I know these work, so into the oven they go. So while those are baking, it felt like I should play some Animal Crossing. I have never played Animal Crossing before until about last week when I got New Horizons on the Switch, and I'm obsessed. I play it all day, every day. So this is me. Her name is Dank Boy, and my island is named Yeet. I'm gonna go catch some bugs, so I'll catch you guys on the flip side. They've been in for about 7.5 minutes. They're definitely puffing up. They don't look like they're baking super evenly. I can kind of see that the tops look a little kind of ridgy, but I'm okay with that because I'm going to be icing them anyway. So as long as they get baked and are like cake, that's a win in my book. So we'll see how it goes. Okay, so this is them out after 18 minutes. They're looking like cupcakes, but they're falling a bit in the middle. I'm going to toothpick this one. Let's see. It comes out clean. 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 I think they might be done. They look like cupcakes, so I'm pretty excited about that. The tops are a little uneven, but that's okay. I'm gonna ice them with like piping icing anyway, so that'll be covered, but they definitely baked. So yay, success. All right, so the first 12 were good to go. They look like they're gonna work. They're falling a bit in the middle, but that's okay. I'm gonna ice them with piping icing anyway. I'm gonna go ahead and make another batch, so 12 more cupcakes for 24 total, so that should cover me for all my family. And then I will come back to you when they're cooled and ready to start making icing. So see you in a bit of time with more cupcakes. Okay, so the cupcakes are done. They're in the back here. I made the second batch and it turned out just fine. So now, here, I'll show you one. They didn't bake the most even. They kind of sunk a little bit in the middle. They were done when I did the toothpick thing, so I'm not too worried about it because I'm going to ice them anyway, so I'll be able to see, but they smell good. They look like cake, so I'm counting this as a victory so far. So the recipe also tells us how to make some vegan, dairy-free, gluten-free buttercream icing. So we're gonna do that. Beat together dairy-free butter, palm shortening, vanilla extract until smooth and creamy. Okay, so here I got these two things. This is Earth Balance Vegan Cooking and Baking Sticks. So it is 78% vegetable and palm oil, vegan, vegetarian, gluten-free butter. And then this is all vegetable shortening, gluten-free, no animal products, palm oil shortening. So we use both of these with some vanilla. So it calls for 1/4 cup of each of these and then a bit of vanilla. So let's get that all organized. I don't think I've ever actually seen vegan butter before. Oh, it comes in sticks. Nice. That's nice and easy. You know what? it makes it a lot easier if I just use the whole thing, because then that is exactly 1/4 cup, because it's 8 tablespoons, which is what it's telling me. So I'm going to double the whole recipe to start. I don't know if that's going to be a critical error or not, but that makes it easier than me having to cut this in half. So 1 stick of Earth Balance vegan buttery sticks. Great. These were expensive, by the way. Not surprising. Everything like this that's vegan is. Okay. Shortening's gross. I hate shortening. It is... I never really grew up with it. I always grew up with butter, because I don't have any dietary restrictions involving dairy. It is so gross. I don't know how to measure this properly without doing it, so I'm just going to put it into a 1/2 cup like this. Shortening is just so white. Like, it looks to me like it's so processed, because it is. So I'm going to push this down into here till I get a 1/2 cup. So I need a little bit more. I mean, I guess the one nice thing about cooking with shortening is, like, even if you have it in the fridge, it's always so soft and ready to use. Good enough. That was awful, and I hated every second of it. I'm now going to beat together the shortening and the butter, and then mix in my vanilla after. I just want to give it a good chance to beat, so. Alright, so far it's looking a little thick, kind of chunky. Okay, it's looking a little less chunky, so I'm going to put in the 2 teaspoons of vanilla, because I'm doubling this recipe now. So 1, 2, get that all mixed in. Scrape down the sides of the bowl, actually. So far, it looks like when I make buttercream, except for, I mean, it looks pretty much the same. The consistency might be a little different, but, I mean, there is no dairy in it. Alright, so it looks like this now. It's gotten a lot less chunky. There's still those little chunks in there, but I think that'll get better with the icing sugar. So you need a ton of icing sugar for this. So I have some here. So I'm going to alternate putting that in with some dairy-free milk. I actually found this Silk Coconut for coffee. It's dairy, gluten, and soy-free. I don't know if it's exactly coconut milk. I didn't want one of those really big cartons because I don't really drink it. So I got this. It'll have to do. So I'm going to alternate putting sugar and then a little bit of coconut milk back and forth. Icing sugar always makes an absolute mess everywhere. Okay, so let's do it 1/3 cup at a time and just kind of let it see how it does. We'll do 1/3 of a cup at a time until at least it gets a bit of consistency to it. It is so, it's juice everywhere. Okay. 1/3 of a cup. This time I can probably add 2. That so far is 1 cup of sugar. Okay. So, it's still very buttery. It's quite loose. We'll get there. This is what we got right now. It looks a little bit like icing sugar, but it's pretty buttery right now. So let's do another cup of sugar, and then we'll start doing a little bit of the dairy-free milk. But let's get another thing of powdered sugar in, because the original recipe, so non-doubled, it's 3 cups. So doubled, it's 6 cups of icing sugar, which is a whole bunch. So we are going to try. I'm going to follow the instructions, because sometimes when you don't, your icing consistency is off, and I want it to be thick for piping, so we're following the instructions, even though it's a disgusting amount of sugar. 3, so that's 2 cups of sugar now. This is going to explode everywhere because I was a bit too ambitious, but that's okay. Okay. So that's 2 cups worth. It's looking like icing. That tastes like icing. Wow. It's already so sweet. We'll do 1 more cup, but I don't know if I'm gonna do 3 more or 4 more. Though it is quite thin. You will see. So let's put in more sugar. 2, 3. So that is 3 cups of sugar, the correct amount for a single dose of this icing. Single batch. Alright, so you can see it's starting to get quite thick. You can see it's holding its form on here. It is good. It is sweet though. So, I'm not sure what to do. It might need a little salt to level it out. I'm gonna add another at least cup of sugar because I want to get some of this coconut milk in it, which is saying to do alternate some in. Because I think the coconut milk's gonna add a bit of a coconut flavor that would be good. Kind of level out the like pure sugar taste that this is. So I'm gonna do at least another cup, then add that milk. And then I think I have to add a little bit of salt, but we will see. So let's get at least another cup in here. Good Lord, so much icing sugar. But that's what you gotta do. And I am liking how the icing is holding. That makes me feel like it's gonna be able to pipe not too badly. Okay, it's 4 cups of sugar. Let's get that in there. It makes such a mess. I don't know why. Does anyone else's stand to do that? Okay, so this is getting like thick in a bad way. So I'm gonna do at least a tablespoon of this milk. I might end up doing, oh my god, that was an aggressive pour. I might even end up doing more, but I started with the tablespoon. That has brought it back to a consistency I like more. It was getting really chunky there, which I didn't like. I'm not convinced I'm going to put any more sugar in this. I don't know if I need to. That's what my icing looks like now. It looks like it has a good thickness to it, so I'm happy about that. I think it'll pipe okay. It looks a little kind of grainy. I think that's just how the butters work together with the sugar. But I mean, like, it's not moving anywhere. It's gonna hold. It almost tastes like, you know those containers of icing you can buy, like the Betty Crocker's one? It almost has a flavor like that, and I'm wondering if it's because they use shortening in theirs. Which I bet they do, because it has a longer shelf life than butter. It's not the world's most beautiful, but it definitely is icing, and it'll definitely work. So I'm gonna clean myself up here, and then get this into a piping bag and get ready to ice these babies. Okay, everything's all cleaned up. I got all of the icing I made into this very big piping bag that I have. Don't ask me what tip this is, it looks like a star. I also got these gold glitter triplet sprinkles. I checked they're vegan, gluten-free, so I'm gonna sprinkle maybe a bit of the gold dust on top or the balls. I haven't decided yet, so I'm gonna be adding those. I always try to add them right after I ice because whenever I ice things, leave them while I do the rest of them, the icing kind of hardens and then these don't stick. So I kind of try to do it right away. So I got my decorating stuff here. So I'm not the world's best piper. I'm gonna do my best and we're gonna see if this icing will hold. I think it will. It's pretty all right. So let's see how I do. It's not the most beautiful I've ever seen, but we'll work with it. I could maybe do for the icing to be a bit bigger, but it does hold. I just have to squeeze a bit harder, I think. It's a good first try. Let's try again. Yeah, that looks nice. All right, so that turned out a lot better. It really held its shape. It looks nice, and I think this is gonna work out. So I'll just keep icing these. And once we get enough done, then we're good to go. Yay, it worked! All right, and that is it. These are the final results. They look better than I thought they would. I'm not the greatest piper, so things are a little wonky, but I mean, the icing is holding. It looks cute. I'm here for it. This is an ugly one, so I'm gonna try this one. When I peel down the tin foil, everything comes off. So that's a good start. It didn't get stuck, so that's great. That looks like a cupcake to me. It's a little sticky, but I mean, it tastes good. It looks, yeah, that's a cupcake. Yum. I'm happy with these. So give these a try. If you have any friends or family who have dietary restrictions, these are a great option. I think they turned out really well, so give them a try. Thanks.